am the first! Cross me and I will immediately murder you in public. And what's up, Wayoon? Today we review Deep Space Nine Season 4, Episode 22, To the Death! What's up, everybody? Welcome to Keith and Mike Watch Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Like I said, today we're talking about Season 4, Episode 22, To the Death. Mike, how you doing, buddy?
Doing okay. It is a dreary day here in Keith. What better way to...
It is indeed a dreary day here in Keith.
It's rainy. It's
raining inside.
I'm low sleep, Mike.
It's
but
raining.
you know what, Keith?
Prom
Regardless of my awakeness, of my energy level, of your general mental clarity and aptitude, it doesn't matter. We are at war again, and so we have to focus and we have to attend to business. So that's what I'm going to do.
I have to say, I actually hopped on to your viewing of this episode, which available to our patrons. You can literally watch Mike watch the episode and chat with him live, and it gave me a chance to watch the episode again. Which because I noted it yesterday. I'm like, man, I really want to watch it again. I'm like, oh, Mike's literally watching it right now. Why don't I go watch it with him and the patrons? And I saw the shift live on your face. You're like, oh wait, this is like a serious episode, this is an important one, so like boom, we are focusing. And I was like, good job. I was gonna yell at you and make you do it, but you did it already. You auto-adjusted.
But they give you context clues, like they start killing people right away, so you know to focus.
Once we start upping the body count in the old school way, not the way the kids talk about it.
No, is that a thing? The kids say body count now?
Yeah, that's your body count is the new like what's your number, which is already too young for us.
What, like give me your body count?
Yeah, like how
that seems like I wouldn't want to say that.
What's your body count? Like how many of course our age is like, have you ever even seen one in real life?
Oh, I see. I was even further behind than you thought. I was like, phone number? What's your number? Got it. Like bed, like we would like the carving of the bedpost, whatever that was back in the day. Not
just on the bed. There it is. That's better. Mike, I think you just lost all your Riz.
That one I heard because it was on Jeopardy. There was a category on Jeopardy last week that was 20th century slang or 21st century slang.
Oh my God. We're so old.
Riz. I know Riz.
Gotta have Riz, man. All right, well, look.
We do not.
Luckily, most of our audience is our age, so we're, we're all in the same boat.
Remember months ago when I, slammed my finger in a fridge? Still black. Is that gonna go away?
I don't know, man. Are you gonna lose the nail? That's grim. I mean, you look like a Ferengi, because the Ferengis have blue nails. Maybe you've been hanging out with Quark?
I have been hanging out with Quark. All right. Let's talk.
All right. Well, before we talk about this episode, of course, we have to talk about last week's episode, For the Cause, and implementing our new patrons get some of their stuff read. That's how it works. So if you would like me to read your comment...
If you would like Keith to log into the Patreon account.
That's Mike's problem. No, I actually really do, because it's really fun to see the smartest comments in the world come on our Patreon feed.
That's true.
Anyway, so if you would like me to read your thing, you can either join the Patreon or leave us a super thanks right here below on the YouTube comments. And so here are just highlights from all of our patrons' comments, including Joshua Cronin, who gives it an 84. The Maquis, why do they still matter? Well, like the maggots, I love that are still around. If you let them keep stewing, they will build back up again, and someday Cardassia will be back to its glory, and they will be back on their game again. Yeah, man, it's never the first insurrection that gets you. I'm not terrified for November. Nah. Anyway, that was me. Josh continues, not that I think the Maquis are bad, I kind of sided with them because that was their home and Cardassia was treating them bad and with no protection from the Federation. I would be mad and revolting too. Also, like Jason Moe says, I disagree with you, Mike, I love the relationship between Cassidy and Ben. They are so different, yet so alike, and I think their chemistry works wonderfully. I agree. As far as Ziyal and Garak, now you're wrong, Mike. I honestly feel that was Rick Berman stepping his homophobic foot in there to make sure Garak was not so gay with Bashir. So, being gay myself, I just look at it like Ziyal was Garak's beard. We all have good girlfriends that we hang with and do things. I don't really see any flirting from Garak. I just see him taking it cautiously because he wasn't expecting the daughter of an enemy to take a liking to him.
I am choosing, as an insert here, I'm not disagreeing with anything anyone was saying. I'm simply inserting my lore is that Garak is not gay or straight or of any defined sexuality. I think he can be whatever he wants. For me, it's about chemistry. Yes, the age thing is weird, but he just doesn't have much with the Ziyal character right now. But he's got a lot with Bashir. So, I mean, that's how I see it.
I could definitely see Garak's sexuality being pretty fluid. But I think I
can also see him using it as a camouflage tool to his.
That's part of. Yeah. It's a huge part of it, and I think somebody else says something about that later. Anyway, we continue. JD says, "Ooh, a cold open, stepping up the game." Thanks, JD. Yes, we are doing a cold open. So that 90% of our viewership doesn't die in the first 30 seconds. So we want it to die in the first 15 seconds. But JD gives the last episode a 79. Quark's Bar, one of our new corporate sponsors, we'll have more from that later, says, on behalf of the Ferengi Gaming Commission, we at Quarks would like to commend Keith and Mike Entertainment for a shrewd, unscrupulous, low-cost, zero-effort ad read. Damn right. As you continue this journey of camaraderie and self-improvement together, we ask that you always keep in mind the 21st rule of acquisition: never place friendship above profit. Much like Mike did when he hooked up his account to his own PayPal.
One time. There was a lot of Grubhubs that week, but...
I was like, no wonder you're broke. You get takeout every 8 minutes.
Well, when Jen's working, yeah.
Jen has to cook for you like you can't cook?
No, we just order out together.
That's true. Harry Pothead comes in with a 90, saying Janeway did nothing wrong in the Tuvix adventure, which I'm not going to talk about more because we're going to get there eventually. But I agree with you. I think Janeway made the right call. Worf's Boot Shivs comes in with a 65 and says, this should have been a season 3 episode with 2 or 3 more passes on a rewrite, in my opinion. I agree. Kevin Miles gives it a 91. Ryan Chesley gives it a 93. Mysterious Anne with a 60. And here's what she says.
Thank you, Anne, for being on my side here.
No,
we liked it, right? We liked it. Most people hated it. Was this the one of Flippy Flips? Which one?
Oh no, we were like meh.
Okay.
But she's going to talk about the Cassidy part, but it's not actually related to you thinking that having no chemistry. But I think this is a really terrific point. She says, I really don't like that they didn't give Cassidy a chance to have or express strong convictions. I agree with you guys that they nerfed everything. So she did, so Ben and the viewers could continue to have her in the good column. I think they could have made her stronger and more complicated and still kept her as a viable character, but they may not have had the capacity to write a woman morally ambiguous character the way they do some of their more complicated male characters, which 100% agree. I think that is one of the failings, especially of a lot of the other Trek series. And I think you're right. They were sort of afraid of that, and I think you're right that I really wish they'd given Cassidy a chance to give her side of the story. However, I will counter with, I think Kira is a strong, morally ambiguous character, and a complex, strong female character. But yes, I think that the general note is very true there. So that is what you, the viewers and the patrons, had to say about For the Cause. What do you say we talk about To the Death?
I think it is time, Keith.
All right. This aired on May 13th, 1996. Next week, assuming they were working on consecutive weeks, will be my 16th birthday. Won't that be fun? Not particularly.
But the top song, because my dad died on the 16th, so this is like, yeah. So this is, what would this be? It's 96, so 5 years. This is the
yeah. I was gonna say that wasn't yet.
No, this is the 5-year countdown. Man, wouldn't it be would it be nice to know if you had to but like your 5-year warning? I don't think I want to know.
You know, I think
we've had this conversation before.
No, as I get older, and as the people in my life who I care about get older, and I have a better concept of time, I think we should always live as though we were on the 5-year countdown and treat our relationships thusly.
Okay, I like it.
Yeah. The top song was Always Be My Baby. Once again, Mariah Carey. Oh, I can't wait to hear some of it.
No, yeah. Keep talking. I'll just sing it.
The top movie. This one is one I was so excited about. Saw it in the theaters. And its sequel is coming out this year.
Dune 2.
No.
Oh.
The
Beetlejuice, baby.
No, oh, good guess. No.
Oh, okay.
Twister.
Oh, yeah. Is it a sequel or is it a prequel? This is called Twisters.
Twisters is like Alien and Aliens, where I don't think there are any characters, but it does exist in the same universe. Anyway, Twister came in with $41 million. That's a giant opening.
Yeah.
For 1996. Really enjoyed that movie. The cow flying by. Went with my dad. My dad was all excited to go see it. For sure. If we weren't seeing Twister, what were we watching on TV tonight?
Oh, Keith, I can't wait to tell you. We had the ABC Monday Night Movie was rocking, and that was Dead Man's Walk, Part 2 of 2, 1996, of course. The Nanny was rocking, Dave's World, Murphy Brown, Sybil.
Not Dead Man Walking.
No, different.
The horrible ripoff, I'm assuming?
It was a great time to be watching CBS because everything was all new. Fox had a Monday Night Movies. They were airing the television premiere of not television premiere, I just lied about that. I don't know that for sure, because it was a 1991 joint, but they were playing Raul Julia in The Addams Family.
Oh.
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, In the House, Monday Night Movies. Twisted Desire, Keith, was on NBC. But most likely what you and I were most excited about was David Attenborough's Natural World back on Monday's night. And this night, Keith, they were talking about, get ready for it, Tales of the Unexpected, possums.
Oh. Was it the Possums television debut, you think?
It's possible?
Possible, yeah. I knew that was coming. Yeah, I had a... Oh, you had it already? Oh, okay. It's not quite Planet Earth quality.
No.
Why are we watching a possum?
I thought you'd enjoy that.
Look. I mean, look. It's none of my business. I am sex positive for possums too, but that's not even a possum.
Why is it still talking? Oh, I hit the wrong button on it. That's my bad.
I was gonna go into this whole story about this guy who announced everybody as making their 54 Below debut, even though it was like their 19th time, but we've got more?
No, it's the same possum.
Just want to... Okay, well, forget it. Guys, that was going to be a great story, but no, I was just playing possum, apparently. All right, so the question of what was Voyager doing? We were doing the episode Resolutions, in which we asked the question and sort of answer, maybe don't answer. Are they going to do it or not?
Yeah,
but I'm not going to tell you who, because Mike has not seen Voyager yet. We're going to get there. The weekly world news headline, there's no issue again.
Interesting.
Or at least there wasn't on Google. Somebody's cat peed on whoever's box.
1996 was bad for this guy in his cat's box.
Clearly, something happened. He had a very extensive collection. He missed a couple of issues. It's a bummer. All right, so let's talk about To the Death. Let's get into the episode specifically, which was directed, once again, by LeVar Burton, who last directed on Rules of Engagement. Geordi coming in with some hot fire in this episode. And it was written, and you can tell when the big kids step in and write it's both important plot stories, larger world, larger story stuff, but also just The dialogue is written so damn good. It's Ira Stephen Bear and Robert Hewitt Wolf, two of the big kids coming in to work on this episode. What do you say we work on something trivial, Mike?
Now Keith, waste your time with trivial trivia.
Just a couple little things this week. I think just sort of in canon, it's good to explain that this episode features the second Iconian gateway.
Should you explain it too, or are you just going to explain it? Which one should we do?
You want to show me some more possums that aren't possums?
If we're gonna be having this type of episode, I feel like we should commit to it, right?
Oh my God! Is one of us gonna snap the other guy's neck?
I mean, I started it. I had a misspeak. We didn't have the sound effect of like snapping celery, but you know it'll do.
Oh, you can do it in post. We'll have Sean do it.
Yeah, he'd love that. He'd love that. We won't give him credit though. That'll make it really feel like.
That's right. Well, and that sound will be used forever in 1,000 different things. He'll never see a dime. Great. Anyway, so Contagion 1989 was the first episode on Next Generation, which introduced the Iconian Gateway system. I guess we'll ask about when we get in there. But the places shown on the Iconian gateways include Starfleet Command, Paris, and Bajor. Were you able to track that story? You haven't seen Contagion.
No, but assuming. I mean, Gateway. I mean, I feel like it probably did. It have to do with that race of beings dealing with the.
No,
gateway?
No.
Okay.
It was so these gateways are 200,000 years old. From an empire that is long gone, but they left these gateways, and so people are always coming across them. And in Contagion, we're trying to keep the Romulans from getting their hands on one, and this time, obviously, it's the Jem'Hadar. So,
and the Jem'Hadar of it all is to really boil it down. It's not so much that because clearly the Dominion doesn't like any openings to their quadrant, right? Because that's why they don't like the wormhole, obviously. Because it potentially threatens their sort of dominance in this area. But that's not why we want to get rid of this wormhole, this gateway.
No,
it's because they don't want the Jem'Hadar to escape?
No, it's because anybody with this technology could basically take over the universe. And because they can just beam themselves anywhere in the universe instantaneously and back. So you could just like beam into the Oval Office, wipe out whatever. So it's basically it gives you unbelievable power. And so and he says it, Wayun says it, like the Jem'Hadar could take over the Dominion in like a year, then take over the Federation like
but the Dominion are smart. Why don't they use the technology? Why don't they learn it?
That's a good question, but I think they didn't find it in time. It was just like which actually that's a good wormhole. They should have just taken it. Because
you would think they want it, unless you go under the assumption that we're still playing with, are they actually evil, right? Or are they just?
Well, what are their objectives here? Is the objective universe domination, or is it the objective just to stay safe?
Yeah, to stay North Korea, right? To just kind of keep your wall up, yeah.
Unclear at this point. I think that's a fair wormhole. Anyway, we are so far from wormholes. But
well, you see what I did, Keith, is I used my portal to beam to the wormhole section, and I just beamed back.
And you beam right back. I mean, and that's just too much power.
It's a lot.
That is way too much power for you to have, Mike. So speaking of power and production, this episode was filmed after The Quickening, but aired the week before. The Quickening is next week's episode, which I think it makes sense. I think we needed this type of an episode now. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad that they rearranged that.
Mm-hmm.
So according to Robert Hewitt Wolf, the writer of this, To the Death was written specifically to give the Jem'Hadar more depth. Our intention was to show that the more you learn about them, the less you want to be around them. If you meet the Borg on a one-on-one basis, they're kind of cuddly. And when you get to know the Klingons, they're not so scary anymore. But the Jem'Hadar, when you really get to know them, are damn scary guys. Really, I think.
Do you know what this episode gave me about the Jem'Hadar? And like, if I was going to give you my elevator pitch of it, they're the Klingons, but consistent. right? So the Klingons are like, we're all about battle and honor, right? But then you learn more about them, and you're like, well, but it's political, right? That honor and that battle can be flexible. Whereas it seems like it's pretty rigid with the green Keith. It seems pretty rigid with the Jem'Hadar.
It's too yellow.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that they're simpler than we think. What we learned from that, they don't have a culture, right? They are killing machines. They have been genetically designed to be killing machines. They don't have deeper layers. They don't have another culture. They don't have a whatever. I think they have the capacity for it at some point. But right now, they are just like, we are just walking meat killing machines. There it
Sounds
is.
appetizing.
So, Robert Hewitt Wolf also had another intention for the depiction of the Jem'Hadar in this episode. Wolf commented, "We wanted to spend some time with some Jem'Hadar who weren't screwed up, because the 2 times we spent any time with them was the kid who was so young and doesn't know what he's feeling and the abandoned, and also the ones on Hippocratic Oath. So we want to show what a functional Jem'Hadar society is, because we know so much more about them than anyone else does, and we wanted to get some of that information out there so the audience can understand them a little better. It seems like the more you learn about the Klingons, less scary they are," just sort of what he said before. Same thing with the Cardassians. The Jem'Hadar is much more scary. They're not the kind of guys you want to party with. So very, very interesting, and I think very successful in doing all of that in this episode. But you want to know who we do want to party with, Mike?
Oh, and we do.
We literally do. And we will, Saturday. So if you're watching this right away, Saturday at 7 p.m., we are going to be watching Star Trek The Motion Picture live with all of you.
So just as a reminder, all our folks out there, to join our Patreon page, the cost of entry we've made democratically available to all those above the $1 level. So all you got to do is donate $1, jump in for a month. You can get into the picnic, chat with all of our really cool people, and those people are Brian Kimball Beersock, Casey Clark, Jason Moe, Peter Bank, Frank Rinsch, Joshua Cronin, Andrew Hayes, Jorge Naboa, and the Mysterious Household, Warp's Big Ol' Booches, Charles Babbage, Harry Pothead, CRM Productions, Nikolay Ivanovich Lobachevsky, Delusions at Noon, YouTube viewer James Hubbard, Chesley Anguish, who joined us in the chat last night. Welcome, Chesley, JD Makes, Colin Dagan, Chris Mitchell, Pat, Joshua Cronin, Jerry Don Dillard III, Lutz Kremer, White Elridge, Chancellor Jen, and, of course, Quark's Bar. You can join the team at patreon.com/KNM. We listen to music, we do other shows, we're doing stuff, picnic, blah, shmah, shmee, shmah, and we read your cold copy if you join us at the sponsorship level. Keith?
All right. Awesome. That gave me a chance to arrange my tickets to Teeth. So there we go.
But don't we owe something to Quark's Bar?
We do. We do indeed. So as always, in keeping with the spirit, I didn't write this. I put AI to create this jingle, but this time we got music.
Oh, man.
Come to Quarks. Quarks is fun. Come right now. Don't walk, run. The mix okay?
It's very loud.
All right, we're going to start again. Come to Quarks. Quarks is fun. Come right now. Don't walk, run. Quarks Bar, Grill, Gaming House, and Hollow Suite Arcade. The beating heart of Deep Space Nine's promenade. Sip exotic drinks while rubbing elbows with Klingons, Bajorans, and mysterious strangers. Quench your thirst with gold-pressed Latinum-infused concoctions. Roll the dice at our gaming tables where the fortunes change faster than a warp jump. Step into the Hollow Suites and live your wildest fantasies. Battle Klingon warriors, dance with Andorian diplomats, or surf solar flares, if you know what I mean. Live music, lively banter, and a Ferengi host who's more charming than a Tribble in springtime. So, beam down to Quarks where the cosmos unwind and every night is a stellar adventure. Quarks Bar, because life is too short for boring space stations. So, there you go.
Wait, how did you AI music it?
Oh, I just got some royalty-free awesome music.
Oh, great. Yeah, I had some on my side, which probably would have made the mix better. But next week, I'll take the royalty-free music portion.
Oh,
and,
all right.
I'll help you
all
out.
right. It'll be, all right. Oh, that's great. So I'll just do the read at whatever the flavor.
Yes.
of the music that you collect. But do you think we're done? Because I was like, hey, wait a minute.
That one was ostensibly worse than last week. Like, that one was just like space words.
No, but it was accurate.
There was some stuff. I mean, yeah, I just mean like it didn't really make a lot of sense. But I guess commercials don't really.
It's a list of all the things they can do. But you realize I was like, why are we doing Quark's Bar? Why aren't we doing Keith and Mike Watch Deep Space Nine?
Oh.
Attention, Trekkies and space explorers alike.
No. Hold on.
Introducing.
No. We just established a new rule.
Okay, all right.
So here you go.
All right, here we go.
We're having too much fun. Oh, I have to hold on. Wait for it.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Do it my way. It's better.
Hold on. I promise you, it's coming. I have to just do this.
Oh, wow. Good. Attention, Trekkies and space explorers alike. Introducing Keith and Mike Watch Deep Space Nine. Keith, a seasoned Star Trek enthusiast, and Mike, a cosmic newbie, embark on an interstellar adventure. What is it all about? They're diving into every nook and nebula of Deep Space Nine, the iconic space station where wormholes hum and intrigue pulses through the promenade. This isn't just any podcast, it's a Warp Speed video podcast. Expect episode breakdowns, from Cardassian politics to Ferengi shenanigans, they dissect it all. Trivia Warp Course! Unearth hidden gems faster than a Romulan cloaking device. The Alamoremis, because even Odo deserves recognition. Tune in as Keith and Mike chit-chat, unravel mysteries, and warp through time and space. Keith and Mike watch Star Trek Deep Space Nine, where no podcast has gone before. I am Dude. I would just like to point out that the AI bots...
It scraped all that? You didn't type any of that in?
I didn't type any of that.
We've made
that.
it.
That is 100% all AI bots. They got Alamoremis. That's crazy. And knew what it was.
That just means you're doing a good job on your SEO, buddy.
Oh, it's terrifying.
It is that, but it makes for just an extra 10 minutes of the podcast.
Great. Hey, you know, are you tired? Am I tired? Let's just talk for an extra 45 minutes. The cat's gone to bed. It's great.
I just keep praying Jen brings me more coffee, but we've already had 2 cups, so I don't think it's coming.
Oh, no, that's too much. It's too much, buddy. You should drink Mountain Dew, 0 sugar.
Do you want to kill whatever sperm you probably don't have anymore? Mountain Dew!
I want to kill him dead. This is great. I'm 43. I'm done with that idea.
Oh, well, you should move to... well, let's not get political. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, all right. Ugh. All right. Our guest stars this week. Remember we're doing a show?
Oh, yeah.
Our guest stars this week include Brian Thompson as Taman-Tarax. Scott Haven as Vera Kakar. So Brian Thompson, we've seen on the show before, also in the Dominion, but just as one of those painted face guys.
He's getting all the cool makeup.
He's getting a lot of cool makeup. Well, you know, dude's done a lot of stuff like that.
He's got those eyes. He's creepy as hell.
We have Clarence Williams. No, you're thinking of the wrong guy.
Okay.
You think Clarence Williams III as Ometakron the First, but most important, Jeffrey Combs is back as Weyoun. This is Weyoun's first appearance. Obviously, we know Jeffrey Combs from the pervy alien who wanted the Kira hologram. Also as Liquidator Brunt, the Ferengi. And now, finally, here as Weyoun. Just lights up the screen. Very happy to have him here. What do you say we hop into the screening room and discuss this episode?
Yeah, well, well saved, buddy. I guess I'm still loud, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Well, we'll never fix it all.
Never. We will never fix this show because we're broken all the right ways. All right. So in our teaser, the Defiant is returning to Deep Space Nine after driving away some pesky Breen. In the mess hall, Dax, Bashir, and O'Brien are discussing parenting. Have we seen the mess hall yet?
It didn't look new to me. Oh, on Defiant. No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't know if it was ever like fully formed, but now it is now like a main set, which is just good. We're gonna use it a lot. So Bashir foolishly sits in Worf's seat. Worf, of course, orders prune juice extra large, which is really tiny for an extra. This is something that's always bugged me on Star Trek, right? Because they're like, give me an extra large, and it's the itty bittiest, tiniest glass, like, which is what, 8 ounces?
You know what, Keith?
Is extra large.
It's because in the future they've solved portion control.
I don't want to solve portion control. If you replicate it, it's healthy no matter what it is. Give me an extra large. Because then you just have like shrinkflation. That's what it is. It's shrinkflation.
Well, it's free. So I mean, is it shrinkflation?
Yeah, but here's the thing. Like, if I want extra, I have to order like 6 of them. That's got to use more energy.
Okay.
Anyway, also in that shot, there's no opening in the replicator to get your food out of. It's just a thing that lights up. It was obvious. It's very simple what he did. So Dorn just had the glass in his hand, beep beep beep, and then the lights came up, and then he turned around with it. But like, they didn't even bother to have a cutout where they normally beam the thingy in.
Yeah, it definitely was not podcast frame by frame proof, for sure.
Not this time. Well, I think they just hadn't built it. I understand they didn't want to do the visual effect of having the beam in. Just one extra thing you don't want to do, but...
Well, this is where it all changes, though, because in the first 30 seconds of this, I thought we were in for a carefree comedic romp, because we're just joking and we're prune juicing and we got it all going. But then there's an alarm, and calmly, everyone is told to get the hell to the bridge. So that's where we're at.
Well, Mike is moving us forward. So they return back to the station, and holy poop. The station has been attacked, and an entire pylon has been blown off of the thing. Crazy. I don't know if you got a shot of it, but it definitely, I went, oh my God, once I saw it.
I believe I used an expletive.
Yes, you did.
Because spoiler alert, Keith and I just played with a toy where we were futzing with the pylons. Yeah. Oh, you hung it.
It's right there on the bookshelf, top shelf. I moved some of my own trophies to make room for
You'll see that on
Deep Space
Sunday,
Nine.
But
oh right,
yeah,
we haven't aired it yet.
But the pylon thing made me it connected all my world, and I felt sad.
Well, it was kind of a big deal. It was a very striking visual. They get onto the station, and Kira is injured. Worf is panicked that Rom might have been killed. Turns out he's okay.
Not Worf, Quark.
Quark.
Yeah.
Did I say Worf?
You did. Well, I'm sure Worf would be upset about Rom too.
I mean, I don't know about panicked. I don't think he cares much about Rom. But there are dead people in the hallways. The station was rapidly attacked and robbed by Jem'Hadar, who did a smash and grab and went back through the wormhole. And Odo confirms that 17 people are dead and 31 are missing, so probably dead. This was huge.
A couple of things, Keith. Riddle me this. Number one, this extra in the back, it looks like he's wearing jeans. Did they just capture like a production, a staff member in a shot and just...
No, I'm sure that's way too featured. But I don't know. I mean, like, hey, we still have jeans in the future. They're just space jeans.
You're right. Also, second question, real question. Sorry, that just caught me. As for those of you who don't know, Keith and I have an absolute obsession with background extras. The way they dress, the way they act, the way they don't act sometimes, the way they stare at the camera at other times. I'm just obsessed with it in all shows, especially old network shows. Okay, that said, does Star Trek have a blood quota? Meaning, is there only so many shots that are allowed to show blood, or is that just an artistic choice? Because it's very specific in this episode, no blood, and then there's a couple of shots where they establish blood.
Oh, it's not Star Trek.
It's just TV. Yeah,
it's TV. I mean,
but this is before TVG, TVPG, like all that stuff.
Yes, but I think that made the censorship even stronger. Yeah. Because they couldn't say like, "Hey, look out! There's some stuff here," and because it's syndicated, because it might air it at 10 o'clock in the morning. Like, so I think the censors, and back in the 80s and 90s, we cared about violence and gore. And like, if you remember, like the original like Freddy movies or the all the Jason slasher stuff, they had to battle really hard not to get X ratings with some of the kills. And like it was like a huge deal fighting that. Today you watch Walking Dead on like your random regular episode on TBS in the afternoon, it is like 1,000 times gorier than anything that would have been. They would have been arrested with that level of gore.
When we get to the battle sequences in this episode, it really made me appreciate your brother and your uncle's work because they don't show a lot of the blood in a lot of these really gory scenes. The sound has to do yeoman's work to kind of to carry the weight.
Gotta have that squelchy knife cut. Yeah, for sure. I mean, they and I know that like for some of them later, my brother was like stabbing a piece of ham with a knife and recording that, and that was like a regular thing that they did. So anyway, Sisko prepares to make chase.
That's how he courted his wife. He was like, and said, we used to make mixtapes. He just made mixtapes of him stabbing hams, and that's what he.
No wonder it didn't work. Didn't work for me either. I courted with my own songs.
Yeah, he stabbed hams. It sounded the same. Ironically, 100%. Very similar.
I mean, I sing too high. It sounds like some lady being stabbed. So that's me. Anyway, Sisko prepares to make chase in the Defiant and tells Kira to have the Federation send more ships, and they head off into the wormhole. And that, kids, is how you do a teaser.
Yeah, that's the pre-act.
Yeah, now we do credits, but I am like glued. So in Act 1, the chase is on, and they run into a heavily damaged Jem'Hadar warship. It's not who they're chasing. Those guys use a transport ship. Naturally, because of Star Trek, it's about to blow up, and they discover there are 7 life signs on board. So they beam the survivors on, but only with an entire team of security guards with phaser rifles aiming at them, and they remove the weapons of the Jem'Hadar in transport. Obviously, taking the Jem'Hadar very seriously in terms of, you're going to get murdered.
So I won't belabor this. I've made it clear in my watch along, and
you're wrong.
I hate the look of the rifles. I think they look fake. I don't think they look intimidating. I just don't like the design. It's my feeling. I'm allowed to have it. And I have it.
Yes, but here's the thing. I think it's storytelling. I think the Federation, being peace-based, intentionally make their weapons not look as ferocious and intimidating and scary as all the other, because we know that it's not Star Trek. The designers make terrifying weapons for the Klingons and the Cardassians and everybody else. The Federation intentionally nerfs the look of their weapons so as not to appear too militaristic.
Oh. Or so that they could be made into toys easier to sell.
Well, that too. But all the Klingon stuff got made into toys too.
Yeah, that's fair. So that said, what I also like about this kind of first scene is that, the tone was the tonal shift into this. Now the plot of the story is abrupt from where we start with the prune juice and stuff. But what I love about this show is they give it to Avery Brooks to be like, you now establish the new tone, right? These first couple scenes with him, he is all business, all decision making, and it works. It totally shifts the perspective.
So I'm going to say it a bunch of times in this episode, but Avery Brooks is phenomenal here, taking full stage here as full Sisko, right? The Sisko that is not just the, the goofy guy wandering around the station. He is now going to be the guy who takes us through whatever is to come that might be scary and traumatic. This is the guy who's carrying the weight of the universe on his shoulders and
just lost 20 people,
He can 100% handle it, and I think that's really, it's exciting to see this Sisko here. So, anyway, it turns out to be a bunch of Jem'Hadar warriors who are not impressed with the weapons. They recognize a Klingon as a sister species in some ways, and the traitor, referring to Odo. Then here comes a Vorta named Weyoun, who steps forward and snaps at the Jem'Hadar first, and threatens to hold back his Ketracel White if he doesn't pull it together. And Sisko, can we talk privately? He wants to talk to Sisko. And we meet Weyoun, flamboyantly pompous, as he explains all he knows about Sisko. His psychographic profile is now required reading for
Remind
all
me who in the
supervisory
chain of command
Vortas.
where the Vortas sit.
Ah, great. So the Jem'Hadar, obviously the soldiers at the base. The Vorta, who Weyoun is sort of middle management.
Okay.
So they're the ones out in the field commanding the Jem'Hadar. And then, of course, above that, you have the founders, who are gods to all of these
Right,
people.
so they obviously the founders can't be seen directly by the Jem'Hadar, or otherwise they couldn't keep their like godlike.
Well, I think they're genetically forced to think of them as gods,
good
but
point.
the founders don't like getting involved in any of this.
But the Vorta seem to have the same reverence for the founders.
Oh, for sure. Oh, yeah. Well, because remember, the Vorta were also genetically manipulated to serve
I did not
the
remember
founders.
that.
So yeah, no, they're all up there. But the Vorta is like your manager at Quiznos, who's like a super asshole and super condescending. But
That's
who's actually
an
in charge
oddly
of everything.
specific reference.
I never worked at Quiznos, but I've worked at other food places with that kind of a manager.
I
So
tend to like Quiznos, so our apologies to Quiznos. If you were planning on sponsoring, you can still do so. Just write me the email.
no. Quiznos, the restaurant is great. It's just the manager's an asshole. So there you go. Anyway, the psychographic profile is what we got from the search. Remember that?
Yep.
Where they, we had the season 3 premiere.
It was like a whole thing we went through, and it turns out it was all just a sort of Scantron
It was
test.
all fake to scan their brain, which is now information. So Weyoun offers Sisko absolute power over the Federation, then pretends it's all a joke. And Weyoun says, just doing my job, trying to build a bridge between the Dominion and a potential ally. After all, wouldn't it be simpler if the Dominion and the Federation could reach some mutually beneficial understanding without resorting to the unpleasantness of military conflict? God, he's so good. Then he gets to the point. He doesn't want to help the Jem'Hadar that attacked the station. He wants to eliminate them, because they have turned their back on the Dominion, and they don't have much time because they've caught wind of the 200,000-year-old Iconian Gateway, which we have talked about from The Next Generation's Contagion. And they discovered a gateway on one of their planets on this side of the quadrant. The Jem'Hadar then rebelled and are now trying to fix it up themselves, giving them the ability to pretty much overthrow anything, including the Dominion and the Federation. So they stole the equipment from Deep Space Nine so as to help fix it. And Sisko says, couldn't the founders just order them to surrender? From what I've seen, the Jem'Hadar are genetically conditioned to obey them. And Weyoun says, well, the founders' ability to control the Jem'Hadar has been somewhat overstated. Otherwise, we wouldn't have had to addict them to the white. It sounds like the Dominion isn't quite as stable as you'd like us to believe. And Weyoun says the Dominion has endured for 2,000 years. It'll continue to endure long after the Federation has crumbled into dust. Good piece of information there, though.
Mm-hmm.
They have been in charge for 2,000 years, which, if you think about it from the Federation standpoint, we were still in the Dark Ages at that point.
Yeah, it also, we had caught wind before about there are some sects of the Jem'Hadar who maybe think otherwise, but that very well could have been isolated. But now we know it's not isolated.
They're a lot harder to control than they thought they were.
That's really good. And it's actually great news for us because it shows potential chink in the armor of the sort of ironclad wall, right?
Yep, but we definitely are exposed to two things in this episode. One, the danger, but also the vulnerability. Mm-hmm. And so it's almost a little scarier, right? Because you see that they're vicious and powerful, but also unstable.
Yeah, I also have like a sort of conspiracy theory about this episode too. I don't know if I should share it now.
Do it. Why not?
Yeah.
You're gonna forget.
I wonder if all of this is only to get him to have that one interaction with Odo. Like the founders were like, we need someone to go. Like they're doing like they're playing the long game mental warfare on Odo and just like slowly breaking him down.
Always are. Yeah, I mean, it certainly feels very pointed that, you know,
he's
we'll
very
get to
prepared for that interaction.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. So yeah, it's a really good question. How much of this was orchestrated? Yeah, good, interesting thoughts. Or, you know, all good questions. Anyway, Sisko and Weyoun agree.
Also, other thing I meant to mention, I'm glad this screenshot popped up. Do you think that the Vorta? The Vorta are designed, does it remind you? It reminds me of that one, is it Velociraptor? When they get, like, upset and it's like, that dinosaur?
Yeah, not a Velociraptor, but from,
yeah.
That's what kills, you know, the Seinfeld guy.
Yeah, that's this guy, that's the vibes he gives me.
Yeah, it definitely have that little wingy thing, yeah. I think it's a great design because it, looks super weird, right? And you've got the contacts on and you're changing the sort of skin tone to this like weird bluish thing, but also does not put a lot of, you know, prosthetics on the face.
Yeah.
So you can get the full performance here, which of course, you know, you need, and we're getting this amazing performance. So you don't want to mess with that at all. So yeah, there you go. I mean, sure. You know, we'll back him into a corner, and then we'll find out.
Happens,
find out what he does. All right. So they agree that the gateway must be destroyed because it's not worth the risk, and perhaps actually to close the wormhole that you mentioned before, maybe that's why they agree to destroy it as opposed to control it, because they don't have as much control over their soldiers as they think they do.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think maybe it's just like, this would be great if we had this, but this is too dangerous.
They also don't need it, right? They've got their full control over their little quadrant. They were happy for 2,000 years having, you know, it's like they don't need world domination.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, we'll see. So in Act 2, Odo makes a good point about their mission. He says, how do we know these Jem'Hadar can be trusted? They must realize that controlling the gateway would mean freedom for their people. And Sisko says, according to Weyoun, they don't know about the gateway. So they agree to keep the real objective of this mission a secret from the Jem'Hadar. Later, Sisko requests a meeting with the Jem'Hadar first, i.e. their commander. Sisko reinforces, I'm in charge, and the first agrees, until the traitors are found and destroyed. After that, we'll see. So it's a great, they have a bunch of standoffs in this episode where the two of them just like, they don't move, they don't blink, and they have these...
yeah, I commended it on the watch along. Geordi allows so much more air in these types of, usually these kind of episodes are, or these types of shows are a little nervous to let these there's just two people in the scene and we're just trading close-ups. So they quick cut them so that we don't like linger too long, but he lets it linger just enough for that tension, because it's really these scenes are about tension. It's about power dynamic, it's about tension, and just the gigantic space station sized sack that Ben Sisko has, because you know, many leaders standing next to a despot, right, or are gonna quake in their boots a little bit, or they're gonna try to overplay the deference so as to not get into a skirmish right here, because we don't have all the big pew-pews. We don't have a lot of backup coming, so...
Oh, yeah, and we know this guy could kill him instantly with his, you know, just hand-to-hand. And, but yeah, I think LeVar does an amazing job with, I mean, a lot of action, which is great, but all of these duets, these standoffs between Sisko and Weyoun, between Sisko and the First, and between Odo and Weyoun, really getting way into their faces there,
or even
and
Worf,
letting those scenes
Worf
breathe.
and the soldier,
right?
Like, yeah,
just really letting the subtext and the power struggle happen there. It's great. So later in the mess hall, they outline the mission with both the Federation and the Jem'Hadar. They are going to blow up an arms and supply cache, and of course the gateway. And they've got to battle at least 150 soldiers. And they can't blow it up from space because it's underground, so they're going to have to fight hand to hand. One of them, the Jem'Hadar, subtly accuses Odo of being a traitor, but the first says, "It is not for us to accuse a god of betraying heaven. The gods themselves will sit in judgment over you." Odo says, "I am no god, and neither are the founders. The sooner you realize that, the better off you'll be." So they're going to beam in near the base and attack from outside. And of course, the tough guy second officer Jem'Hadar trash talks Worf. "One day the Klingon Empire will fall before the Jem'Hadar, and when that day comes and piles of Klingons lie dead at my feet, I will think of you sitting here impotent and weak, and I will laugh." They, of course, scuffle before Sisko and the First break it up. Things are getting tense. So we begin Act 3, watching our heroes practice fighting with the Jem'Hadar. They don't have a holodeck on the Defiant, so engineering will have to do for their little playset. I imagine, however, as a slight wormhole here, there'd be a lot of sensitive info just wandering around engineering on the Defiant. But what can you do? You got a mission.
This reminds me of all my laser tag parties growing up. Ever do laser tag growing up?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, man, this is what it looked like. Exactly.
I had my own, me and my little brother had our own actual set.
Me too, the red one?
Yeah, the red and black one?
Yeah. I think that was maybe the only one you could get.
The only one.
Yeah.
And the little box.
Yep.
And you get hit 4 times. Oh, that was great.
We should look at one of those on Toys. I'll see if I can find one on eBay. It'd be fun.
I'm sure we have one of them. Well, we certainly used it in the Wrath of Niner.
Oh, I recall that, actually.
That was our phaser, yeah.
I'm so mad that some of my brain space has been occupied by you and your brothers playing laser tag on VHS.
Hey, look, guys, if you haven't seen Star Trek The Wrath of Niner, starring me, and my little brother, it is in our YouTube feed. Just search for Star Trek The Wrath of Niner. You don't want to miss it. So, they failed the exercise because, of course, they were trying to survive this without dying. And the First says, "This is a waste of time. They'll never succeed as long as they value their lives more than victory." And Weyoun says, "There was something to be said for soldiers who aren't afraid to die." Sisko says, "I don't know. I've found nothing keeps me alert quite like a healthy fear of death." Just great snappy dialogue all the way through this. So the First advises them to work in teams. And when Weyoun shuts the idea down, he then has a very key moment where he admits that his men know all about the Gateway. It doesn't matter how we know, the fact is, we know. You think you have to lie to us and use the White to ensure our loyalty. But the truth is, we have more loyalty to the Founders than the Vorta ever will. It is the reason for our existence, the core of our being. And Weyoun says there's an entire company of Jem'Hadar down on Vandros 4 who would disagree with you. And he says, and for that, they will die. Such a great sequence there. And I love finding out that they knew the whole time, that the Jem'Hadar is way more clever than the Vorta thinks they are. And you see that while we have dealt multiple times with Jem'Hadar breaking off, most of them have this intense obsessive loyalty.
And that it's that loyalty that I think of all of the stuff and all of the world building and lore, that loyalty is the coolest thing, because what they did was they created a dynamic in which loyalty's been tested, that loyalty's been proved. This episode furthers that for me. But also they show us the addiction. They show us the drug thing. So it's constantly, there's just that question always for us. And we can't, that sort of dichotomy between their addiction, their need, and also their loyalty, and whether that's true or if that's manufactured, we know that it's genetically, we just don't know. We can't know for sure. And that drives me insane, which is a good thing.
And they're so dangerous because you just don't know. The only thing that they're consistent about, they're violent and ruthless.
I love this shot because you can actually see, you can see in the mask exactly where the tube goes in, where JD pointed out it's a little fish tank motor they use to pump the liquid in. I love that design. But you can see a little bit of the stapling there, whereas the it wasn't ready for
AI.
4K AI.
It wasn't ready for that. That's not fair. It's not fair. You upscaled it.
Still cool.
So then we have a really interesting scene with Dax giving a ton of info about the Jem'Hadar, and I'll just read the scene. Dax says, "There must be something else you'd rather do. Maybe get some sleep. We don't sleep. How about have something to eat? The white is the only thing we eat. You don't sleep or eat. What do you do for relaxation? Relaxation would only make us weak. You guys are no fun at all. I'm glad I'm not a Jem'Hadar woman. There are no Jem'Hadar women. So what do? Lay eggs?" Dax should know this because we did this. Jem'Hadar are bred in birthing chambers. We are able to fight within days of our emergence. Lucky you. So let me get this straight. No food, no sleep, no women. No wonder you're so angry. After 30, 40 years of that, I'd be angry too. No Jem'Hadar has ever lived 30 years.
Remember this song? Don't drink, don't sleep. What do you do? Goody two, goody two, goody goody two shoes.
I definitely do not know this song.
Hold on. I'll risk the strike for it. Hold on a second.
Who is this? Why
This
is this?
Adam Ant. It's an '80s, very popular '80s song. Listen to the hook. It reminds me of the Jem'Hadar. Here we go. It didn't work as intended, but
Oh my God,
that's
so
the
worth
song.
it.
That's the song that makes you think of don't drink, don't sleep, don't mate. What do you do? Okay.
Well,
I'm so sorry. I'm just so sorry that I brought us here.
So Dax says, "How old are you?" Says, "I am 8." And she makes a good joke. "I would have guessed you were at least 15. And he says, "Few Jem'Hadar live that long. If we reach 20, we are considered honored elders." Which I think this whole scene is such, I mean, is it just an exposition dump? Sure. But is it such a great way for us to really understand what's going on here with the Jem'Hadar, and that they don't have a culture and life and relationships and family and hopes and dreams and whatever. They just like, we're here, we fight, we die, that's our deal.
Yeah, and it's also like, obviously this here in the episode, we need a little levity, and we get a little levity scene without it being tonally inconsistent. It does, you do sniff it, right? You catch a whiff of it going by because you're like, oh, this is a little funny where it probably shouldn't be, but it works. It, like you said, it works. It gives us a lot of information, and it does break up the tone a little bit. So I think it works better than the attempt at the top with Quark quipping after looking for Rom, which is weird. That beat didn't work comedically for me, but this does.
I don't remember what that was. Well, but I also think it's really helpful that it's Dax.
Yeah.
Right? Because, like, she's 300 years old. She's been through it all.
She's become pretty quippy, right? She's become sort of like they use her in this way.
She's quippy. She's funny. And, like, even in dire stakes, right? Like, she's... Even in the most dire stakes, if you've done it 300 times, it's a little bit like you can still have a sense of humor.
Yeah.
So later, our heroes discuss the differences between themselves and the Jem'Hadar. Worf waxes eloquent about Klingon women, and Odo notices Weyoun staring at him. Dax assumes that the Vorta also experience Odo as a god. Then the First comes in with a box and demands white from Weyoun. They, of course, do a ceremony that reinforces their loyalty, which I really liked the ceremony part of it, and not just the fact that they do a ceremony like we pledge our loyalty, now give us our drug, but also how they played it. The Jem'Hadar, the ceremony means something to them. It's important. It's real. They're really saying it. And Weyoun is bored and dismissive of it. He's so patronizing. And he's so obnoxious and so patronizing. I think it's really successful in teaching us so much more about the Vorta as well as the Jem'Hadar in this.
Yeah, well said.
So they continue to smack talk the Federation, calling them weak. And naturally, Worf being Worf punches him in the face and the fight begins. Sisko comes in furious and breaks up the fight with the First. Worf and the Jem'Hadar admit that they were fighting, and Worf is confined to quarters when not on duty, and the Jem'Hadar has his neck snapped for insubordination. Sisko's like, what? What the hell? And the First says, why aren't you going to kill Worf? He says, you call that discipline? Sisko says, a dead man can't learn from his mistakes, and maybe I don't get the same joy out of killing that you do. You think I enjoyed that? Taman Tarax was my second. He served me for 3 years. I valued him. You have a funny way of showing it. I did what had to be done, what any First would do. I placed the good of my unit above my personal feelings. A soldier who cannot follow orders is a danger to his unit and must be eliminated. Mr. Worf is not a danger to my command, but if I eliminated him for a simple breach of discipline, I would be. My men would stop trusting me, and I wouldn't blame them. And First says, you are weak. You should die in his place. And when the mission is over, I will see that you do. Woof. And that is the end of Act 3. In Act 4, Weyoun chases down Odo and wants to chat. We learned that Weyoun would follow any order that Odo gives, which is very interesting, but has a message from his people. And this is what you were referencing here. Is this whole thing all about this? Your people want you to come home, Odo. No matter what differences you may have with them, no matter what mistakes you may have made, they still love you. Maybe they do, but I don't love them. And Weyoun here, I love this. You're lying, and you're not very good at it. I, on the other hand, am an expert in lies, both in telling them and in spotting them. So you may as well admit the truth. More than anything in your life, you want to return to your people. And I can make it possible. How? Let me worry about how. All I need to know is, are you ready to go home?
So, Keith, here's Mike's second conspiracy theory.
All right, let's hear it.
So I told you the first one. The first one is sort of in canon, right? Is that this whole thing is a maybe not false flag, but a opportunity created by the founders to get this further message to Odo and to kind of see where he's at, probably litmus test.
Yeah.
Also, I think that this character, right, Weyoun, is a not so subtle, but maybe I'm the only one reading it, stand-in the metaverse for all of the things I hate about organized religion. I'm not going to say religion in general. I'm going to say the insidious part of religion, from when he's giving out the sacraments, right, could care less about it, but just going through the motions, to here where he's saying, I'm great at lying. I would do anything. I serve my gods, but whatever it takes to get you back. And the part that made that jump off the page for me is where he's like, I want to repair this relationship, right? No matter what you've done wrong, no matter what mistakes you've made, we're welcome to bring you back. Come back home. It felt very much like my negative feelings towards some organized religions and their practices to just get the sheep under regardless. Oh, we accept you for everything, except for those mistakes you've made, which are fundamental to who you are as an identity in a person. Anyway.
I think that's fascinating. I love that. That's really, really interesting. And I totally see that. Yeah, well, and in a lot of ways, the founders are sort of fundamentalist and are desperate to subsume and control and have interesting, very
Whereas
interesting.
when we go to the Bajorans, right, they give us a different view, like meta view, where it's like here are the Bajorans who are willing to serve their gods, and then we meet the gods, and their gods are very much unassuming. They're barely gods at all. They're like, no, we're just trying to be, and they are interpreting us.
They're peaceful. There isn't an evangelical part of it at all.
So the way they handle religion and ceremonial religion is very even-handed, I think, from a narrative standpoint because they're giving different viewpoints. But this one seems a little insidious.
Well, and Wei Yun is a little bit like a televangelist.
Very much so.
Because with that incredible pompousness, but then like I just really care about you, you know.
The people will tell you to your face where they're lying, and yet you believe them anyway.
I mean, spoiler alert: Jeffrey Combs, amazing actor.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, really interesting point. So later, O'Brien gives Dax a letter to send to Keiko if he dies.
Speaking of close-ups, by the
battle.
way, I mean,
yeah. Oh, really getting in there. But when you have two actors of this caliber, who can sustain that type of storytelling that close, I mean, you get in closer. What the hell? These guys can handle it. So later, O'Brien gives Dax a letter to send to Keiko if he dies in battle. It's his 11th letter that he's written for her. Dax has a rosier outlook, but she also has a message that she's recorded. Great scene, again, reinforcing the stakes here. And, you know, the complexity of Dax's experience. Like, I've seen it all, I get it, we're gonna be fine. Also, I think I might die. Now, she refers to her mother, and I'm curious whether that is Jadzia's mother or Dax's mother. Does Dax have a mother? Unclear.
Yeah, it's unclear. I would guess Dax's mother or Jadzia's mother.
Jadzia's mother, probably. Yeah. Anyway, so in engineering, Worf wants to express concern about a threat to Sisko's life. He wants Sisko to stay on the ship, but of course we all know that won't work. Then Dax calls and says we're pulling into the driveway. They hand out phaser rifles to the Federation officers and the Jem'Hadar. Wei Yun takes a moment to commemorate the first joint mission of the Federation and the Dominion. And the Jem'Hadar begin yet another ritual. I love this ritual.
Mm-hmm.
I am first a Metaclon, and I am dead. As of this moment, we are all dead. We go into battle to win back our lives. This we do gladly because we are Jem'Hadar. Remember, victory is life. And it's sort of the opposite of today is a good day to die.
Mm-hmm.
The Klingons. I love that speech. I love that idea. It's such good world building. I mean, fantastic world building with these rituals. So they beam down to a forest in California and they discover that all of their weapons are dead because of a dampening field. This is almost the identical beat to Jadzia and the Klingons beaming down and have to fight hand to hand to kill the albino. But it makes sense. And of course, they're immediately attacked by a bunch of Jem'Hadar. So we come out of commercial break and they all fight hand to hand with blades. And I was a little unclear about where we got our blades from. We know
where those battle axes came from, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we know the Jem'Hadar who attacked them had some, but Worf looked like he had his mek'leth for a second, which he didn't have previously, or did they
shadow drop some cash down there, maybe?
Yeah, exactly. I think we're to believe that they stole them from the Jem'Hadar who had attacked them. But anyway, it doesn't matter. It looks really cool. Worf and Dax are obviously super well trained with blades as they are fighting with batlets all the time. They kill a bunch of them and take their swords, but not without taking some red shirt casualties. Because of course you got to.
Yeah.
They fight their way into the structure, much fighting and stabbing. Then Odo degoos and knocks out 3 of the bad guys with would you call it an octopus punch?
Yeah.
It was really funny. They maybe should have started with Odo, since A, Odo is immune to edge weapons, and B, certainly would have confused him whether they would have attacked a god.
I always feel like, Odo is always used as like the secret weapon when he should just be the weapon.
The weapon.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, he's like this super, well, whatever.
Plus, wouldn't they just, you just made this point, but like, if they just walked into battle in a line with Odo at the front, wouldn't they have just let him in?
You would, well, I don't know.
Even Vortigauer was like, I would do anything you tell me to do.
They turned against the Vorta, though.
That's fair.
We probably didn't know, but again, like, what are you going to do? Stab Odo with a sword? Who cares? Odo doesn't care. So they get in, inside to the gateway, and we see the different locations flashing through matte painting collection, including Bajor and Earth. But I thought that this was something they did on the next gen when they first introduced these gateways of like flashing through these different locations. Really cool visually.
Yeah, that's cool.
Even though they're matte paintings, whatever, it doesn't matter. It's our visual.
So the
lexicon.
difference is like in between this, I can't stop my brain from thinking about Stargate. Stargate, each gate could only beam to specific spots, right? Whereas this is like sort of a magic.
Stargate is much more like the wormhole.
Yeah.
Where it's going to one location to another location. This, I'm assuming you can program literally any location.
It's a DeLorean, basically.
It's yeah, you're not doing
space-time.
Time, but it's space DeLorean. Yeah. So they set the bomb up. Sisko is cut, then he saves the life of the Jem'Hadar first, who pledged to kill him, who is of course confused. They get outside and the bomb goes off, and their weapons work again. And before they decide if they're going to kill each other, now our heroes, Weyoun beams down. He's delighted. And the Jem'Hadar first immediately vaporizes him. He's going to remain with his men on the planet to hunt down and eliminate the disloyal soldiers. So, Weyoun, we hardly knew you. We knew you. And they disappear into the woods using their predator cloaking. Very cool. Leaving our heroes to head for home with a great deal more information, but absolutely no clarity as to what's going to happen next. So I know what's going to happen next for us, Mike.
2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8.
Thanks for always doing the drum fills, Mike.
You're welcome. That sounds like a ooh.
I got it.
Here we are, Keith.
Yeah.
We've discussed some before, but let's get back into the wormy holes.
Yeah.
The weapons bit, you clocked it. You brought it up, so we'll go backwards. They mention it, so I don't know if it counts as a wormhole, but I guess it's... Why does it matter? We bring up that they don't know about the wormhole. They don't know about the wormhole, or the portal. And then we make it a point to say that we do know about the portal, but then reaffirm that it's not important how we know about the portal, right? So it's sort of wormhole that it seems like they make like we should know why they know, how they know, but then they tell us that we're not going to tell you why we know.
Well, I think it's about
just underestimating them.
This guy, yes, that Weyoun's hubris, right, leads him to underestimate the abilities of the Jem'Hadar and overestimate his level of control over them. And so there's like we pay much better attention than you think we do.
Yeah.
And like you think we're like these bugs, right? But like we're very much aware of what's happening.
Okay, I'll allow it. What else you got?
The weapons, never using Odo in battle. Yeah, I get all that.
I mean, I guess the red shirts are, or I always think like, here are our best and brightest. These five, we talk about it all the time, but it's our best and brightest. Why don't we have a separate fighting squad? You know what I mean? Why do we always put O'Brien, Dax, these people into battle, you know?
Well, because
they're
we're
the cast of the show.
Well, yes, obviously, but also like the Federation is about peace, and we are ostensibly in peacetime, and so the Starfleet is military sort of, but they're military / exploration, more heavily on the diplomatic and exploration part. So until we get to war, it feels like aggressive, and it's not really their thing. But will we get there? There's a good chance we won't get there.
Okay.
Other wormholey things? No, I think think most of that tracks. Yeah.
Okay.
You know, I'll take it. I'll take it. All right, Mike, what's your best moment?
There's so much good stuff in this episode, and I'll let you talk about what I think you might talk about. But I'm gonna say that one sliver of scene with Wei Yun and Odo in the hallway. I've already just discussed my sort of what I read as a meta point, but also it sort of reminds us that like in this entire conflict, in this entire gigantic war thing we're dealing with, this is what it's really about. It all centers around this sort of century nugget about this push and pull with Odo, and it feels like there's more there, even though we've gotten to this essence of them wanting him back and whatnot, but there's something else there. And what you don't see from Odo here is any believable defiance. Everything that Wei Yun says is 100% accurate. Odo cannot bring himself to hate them and sort of does want to go home, and he hates it about himself. But now we know, don't know what we see that struggle. And that is like the real war right now. So awesome.
Yeah, I think that is the best single moment. I think I'll point out two things. One, Avery's performance.
100%.
Just like, I want to follow that man, right?
I thought you were going to say something else. I heard something else.
Like, hey, look, the line between follow and is, not necessarily that far off. I'm just saying, like, okay, all right, we'll talk.
In a pinch.
Anyway,
in a pinch.
I mean, if he told me to with that voice, I don't know. I have no choice. So yes, Avery's performance before that got weird. But also, I think it's sort of the objective that Robert Hewitt Wolf was talking about. When I get, and this is a little bit of a best moment slash stem bolts, but it's like when I think about the Dominion arc, the Jem'Hadar, the Vorta, the whatever, and what do I really love about that storytelling, this larger arc, right? In a lot of ways, for me, the most satisfying part of it is the world building and the details and the lore and the relationships between this weird, genetically engineered, stratified substructure of a culture that they've built here. So I like all of the stuff that we learn about the Jem'Hadar here, a lot of the stuff that we learn from the Vorta here, and Wei Yun's attitude and all of that kind of stuff. The world building of that just makes me so excited because it feels so thought out and interesting and exciting. And if these were just nameless fighting machines with another like weird face mask, it just wouldn't be that interesting. But I think it's the details, the ingredients that we're building here for this larger conflict that make it such a satisfying meal. And so, this isn't like the huge giant pew-pews that we've seen before and will moving forward, but this is what makes it satisfying. Just this detail, this world building. What are the Jem'Hadar? What do they want? What do they don't want? What are these rituals? What are their attitudes towards the rituals? What are they, what are their emotional motivations or lack of emotional motivations? Like, I think the world building that they do here is so important, and I think it pays off so nicely as we move forward. So, even though this specific thing with the Iconian gateways might not, lead to this huge giant storyline, this world building is going to pay off for the next 3 seasons.
Also, an interesting seed planted, Keith, that we didn't talk about, which I'll just bring up here, talking about world building and questions, right? This tells us a lot about the Jem'Hadar for sure, but it still introduces some questions. And the biggest one I forgot to mention is, okay, the hierarchy is very clearly structured, right?
Right.
As does chain of command. Are there repercussions for just straight murdering a Vorta?
Oh, a Vorta. Yeah, that's really good.
Because that was that he didn't question it, and it's clearly he assumed any responsibility for it. Like, is he going to have to answer to the founders about that? So that it put a lot of questions in my brain, right? Like,
probably. I mean, I would expect there that he did that assuming that he'll be dead too, because he's gonna go kill these other guys for their disloyalty after doing this disloyal act. I think he expects them all to die.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought that was cool. We didn't mention that beat. Anyway, shall we?
Let's do it.
You get some stamps. Hell yeah, they are self-sealing. Here are some stamps for you.
All right, Keith, let's go ahead and test your poker face, because Mike is going to give you his current, where he sits right now in Deep Space Nine, knowing there are 3 more seasons.
Mm-hmm.
My sort of I don't know how long the Dominion Wars last, or like what's the next jump off spot, or where we're going, but like right now, what I've been fed leads me to...
It's an old segment called What Does Mike Think is Gonna Happen?
What does Mike think gonna happen? So it seems to me like what they're feeding me, right? What the appetizer is leading towards would lead me to believe that somehow our side of this conflict will end up using the Jem'Hadar as a tool to turn on that's the only way we're going to be able to get the Founders, is if we can get the Jem'Hadar on our side, right? Which, if that is the case, so I see 2 branching divides here, right? In one side, it's, okay, what are the twists and turns and swerves so that's not that I'm just wrong, right? That's what they're leading me to believe, so that we can pull some swerves, which will be awesome, right? That's great TV if they swerve that. Or how over the next couple seasons do we... Clearly they are very much believe they're gods. Clearly they're very much not even that interested in escaping nobody seems, with the exception of those like guys who realize that maybe we don't need the drug, they seem to be kind of into it, right? So how do we overcome that? How do we win them over? How do we use them? And do we free them as a people, or do we just use them as tools and pawns? That seems to be pretty much against what the show and the pathos or the ethos of the whole thing is. So those are my sort of 2 branches, and either one of them I'm game for. Sounds like great TV. So that brings us to here. I love so far. I could see where it could get a little yo-yo-y and tedious when we reestablish what the grand thing here is, right? Like, I get that the Klingon thing is interesting and is important, but we've been doing a lot of like zooming in here recently in season 4 towards the latter half, and like this is a great reminder. And what better way to remind us by just like killing some people and doing a lot of A-B comparisons. It's like when you go to the eye doctor and they're like, what's better, A, B, B, C,
right.
C, D. That's what we're getting. And they do the great Star Trek thing, whereas, yeah, we cheer for our heroes, and so we believe more than not, we believe the ethics of our side of this conversation. However, they do some great presentation of, specifically from a military standpoint, why their way ain't so bad, you know, or maybe not bad, but is effective, right? Unquestioning loyalty, penalties for when you disobey. What better way to know that everybody's loyal if you're not, you're dead, right?
Oh yeah.
So it's just great stuff. On top of that, you got a director who really let the actors act, who respected it, gave them space, zoomed the hell in. Yeah. Also took, Geordi, I have to say, LeVar has some really cool aesthetic choices. He used a lot of cool whip dolly shots and some really cool stuff. Stakes were super high. My only thing I didn't like about this episode was the teaser. I thought it was tonally inconsistent. It starts that weird kind of like I think that's what they're going for. Like, we're just it's
normal life interrupted by.
It just is fine, but then the Quark beat that just didn't work for me. Well, like he's in the hallway and there's all these dead people and he's like, "Where's Rom?" "Oh, I'm gonna kill him," and it didn't work.
I go back and watch that again because I think Quark's terror before he knows he's okay is very real, I think it's very real and very there, and then like when he makes a joke afterwards, like Quark is always joking to save face, and the face he's saving is like, "Oh, I don't really care. You saw me actually caring. No, I don't really care. I'm gonna make a joke out of it." I think it's consistent with the character.
Okay, that's fine. For me, the second they beam back to the station, it's all business. That's just how I would have approached it. But it's just a little teeniest of nitpicks. I thought I should bring it up because universally, I love this episode. The battle sequences I think were pretty good. They weren't as awesome as the pew pew space stuff, and I think I've come around to just like Trek hand to hand stuff is going to be what it's going to be. But for the most part, this is pretty good in comparison to that.
It's pretty good for Trek fighting. Yeah, Trek fighting is not good. It's never has been good. I hope it never is good. Yeah. That's part of what makes Trek Trek.
Long story short, let's not beat around the bush. This one's getting back into like what I was loving about season 4 and some of the greatness. So I'm holding out some hope for like super great, but this is up there. I'm giving it 88. Self-sealing stem bolts. Hell yeah! I said it.
Hell yeah.
They're self-stealing. Sealing?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've said a lot, probably a lot more than ever should be said about this episode, but I think I love this episode by itself, right? Because of the amazing performances. Jeffrey Combs and Avery Brooks are just like toe to toe. The layers and the emotion and the juxtaposition of these characters, like Avery matching the Jem'Hadar with that toughness, and then like going tete-a-tete with the operatically obsequious Weyoun. Like, it's all really, really fun. But also it's all tied to the storytelling. It's really, really solid. But like I said before, I love this because of the seeds that it plants, because of the, in a lot of ways, it's giving us context that makes everything else more interesting. And it is the colors and the depths and the subtext that will make every single interaction with these people again just a more interesting. And I think there's some really important stuff happening there with Odo and Weyoun, and it's fascinating, it's exciting, the tone is great, the score is really great. It's very Hans Zimmer-y. Yeah, for sure. And it's exciting. It feels like Aliens or whatever, but it's like, it has the weight and the stakes that I really like from Deep Space Nine. This feels like, oh shit, like a bunch of different times in this episode. And that's really, really fun. So,
in fact, I hadn't realized we'd gotten away from it until this reminded me what we had gotten away from.
Yeah, and that's part of the cool part about Deep Space Nine, because it has so many different things so many different tones, so many different worlds we can all play in, and that when we return to this, hey, contemporary Trek, you and me, let's have a little conversation. All right,
I guess we gotta go to the one shot for this then.
Let's go to the one shot. Okay, Discovery, right? Contemporary Trek. Strange New Worlds a little bit. You know how this show has this world and then it interjects into this world, this scary stuff and the stakes and the importance, and it feels important because it's not always there, because it's not normal there. And so it is a tone that is different, so you feel it because something different has happened. That's what makes Trek Trek. If it's this way every single week, it doesn't matter. We don't care because nobody is ever happy. Nothing is ever normal. So you can't up the stakes if it's at a 15 already, right? So just take a note. Take a note. That's why I'm having a hard time getting through Discovery, because
Keith, you should go back and watch our review of the LARPing episode of Strange New Worlds, where you hated that it did something different.
No, it's not. I didn't hate that it did something different. I hated it didn't make any sense.
Okay, fair.
And like and Strange New World is much better at this than Discovery. I love delving into high stakes and emotional trauma and our history and treating our whatever trauma seriously. I love it. They just don't ever do anything else. It's always, this coffee reminds me of my child. I'm dying. Just let us breathe a little bit. Anyway, Point is, I got lost. This episode, 91.
Woo.
91 from me.
Hey, Keith, before you take us out,
Mhm.
you know that old saying that, like, people and their pets eventually start looking alike?
Uh-huh.
Have you noticed that you and I are starting to look a lot alike?
Oh, yeah. I'm basically like a fatter, balder Mike.
I'm looking at our faces and I was like, this could be two guys auditioning for the very same part.
Yeah, that's true. We typed in or out together. Yeah, 100%. So, To the Death got an 8.0 rating on IMDb, which makes it 43 out of 173 episodes. Next week, we're going to be doing The Quickening, which will be very interesting to talk about. But we are only 3 episodes from the end, or 2 episodes from the end of season 4. And so it's pretty. We're getting right into it, and I don't know if this will make things feel exciting. The season premiere of season 5, the title of that episode is Apocalypse Rising.
Ooh.
So get ready.
Is there a cliffhanger
Strap
coming?
in.
Feels like a cliffhanger coming.
It's we'll cliff. I think we're about to start a cliffhanger through the end of season 7.
Okay.
So get ready. Very excited. So thank you so much for sitting with this, I'm assuming, a very long and complicated episode. We'll see you back here next week.
No, we'll see you Saturday.
And reviews.
We'll see you Saturday, everybody.
See you Saturday when we watch Star Trek: The Motion Picture with the patrons. There's still time to join. Go to patreon.com/K&M. Join as a patron. It can only be $1 for those of you. If you're rich, make it more than that.
Yes.
But for regular people like us, hop in for $1. Come play with us.
I mean,
it's
or $5.
super fun.
I mean, we're trying to keep the channel alive.
Oh,
3?
yeah, no, it should be exactly in proportion with what is easily affordable for you. So, you billionaires out there, I expect to see some darn zeros.
Yeah, there's got to be some rich Trekkies, right? Come on.
Yeah, some Bezos, are you watching? Yeah. All right. Anyway,
All of a sudden, keep it. This week from the yacht.
this week from the. Yeah, exactly. We have our own spaceship. Really. All right. Thank you so much for watching. Next week is The Quickening. Till then, this has been Star Trek News Time. Thank you for watching K&M Entertainment. If you enjoyed our particular brand of nonsense, please like and subscribe. Or become one of our patrons at patreon.com/K&M.